Okay, we're live. I lost my mouse. Okay, three, two, one. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 174. And we're going to title this Work is for Work. And we're going to talk about our main topic is OPSEC, operational security, and how you want to separate and compartmentalize your life. And it's a little difficult, but it's not that hard. And Tom and I mean, we talk about this, we do this, everything else, but we just have a quick few stories right ahead just to round things out. Now, if you're wondering where we've been for the last couple of weeks, I guess it's a good thing. There hasn't been that much news. It's Scepter and Meltdown, and Tom can explain that. But there really hasn't been like these crazy things that we have to explain. We've just been apply your updates. There hasn't been like something, like I said, there hasn't been anything crazy. And to give you really technical, deep down walks on this vulnerability and that just is not worth it to us. Right, Tom?
Yeah, it's been pretty quiet. It's far from like standard person security. You've got to do this. You shouldn't do this. Make sure to apply these patches. It's been really dull, and that's fantastic news in InfoSec. If things are boring, that's good.
A couple of things. I do want to do a show on zero knowledge proofs, which is a very, very deep dive into proving something without having any details, and it just requires somebody, Tom or I, to actually do the work and reading it. I kind of have an idea on it, but it is really technical. But it would be a good show. The other thing is we have a friend, Skylar, who does credit card processing, and he said he can come on and talk to us how the security behind credit card processing. So that's also in the pipeline. And then Tom and I don't know if I'm allowed to announce this yet, on I think it's March or April 9th. Forgot what day we said. We're doing, I don't know if it'll be live, but we're doing a thing on cryptocurrency for a group at the University of Iowa. So that's coming up soon. So hopefully we get a video of that, and that can be a whole thing by itself. But
it'll be remote. Don't go to Iowa expecting to meet us. Yeah. You'll see us on a screen of some kind. You get the same experience right here on the show.
Yeah. I mean, your best bet is to try. I'm going to be at DEF CON, and we're trying to peer pressure Tom into going. So, I don't know, a lot of tweets, a lot of "we think you're the best." Definitely, Bitcoin donations would help.
Bitcoin donations would definitely help, or really any coin. If you've got some spare Dogecoin, I'll take it.
I mean, can we pump and dump some coin?
We could pump and dump Tom coin. If there's a Tom coin out there, I need all of the Tom coin.
Just make sure you pump it and then sell it before you dump it. So
yes.
Okay, so speaking about cryptocurrency, last week tonight, John Oliver. If you've never watched it, it's like a Daily Show spinoff. It's actually really good. It is. They go into very deep dives into certain topics. Did a thing on cryptocurrency, and for the most part, I think it was fair. I personally did not like it. I watched it twice. The second time was a little better. And I thought they were going to go into what the blockchain is. They just said blockchain a lot, but they didn't go into it, into what it is. And they went into the speculative nature, not the how this could be awesome. This could decentralize. This could help political dissidents, or you can buy pizza with it. They went into the whole stock market aspect of it, which I was not thrilled with.
Yeah, I haven't seen this yet. It's been on my to watch playlist for a while now, but I haven't seen it. The thing most people are concerned about when they talk about Bitcoin today is, let's look at the charts, let's look at the candlesticks, let's look, this is a bull rush pattern, this is totally a dive. Everyone's predicting it's going to go this way or that way, and everyone's looking at cryptocurrency as an investment vehicle and not necessarily as currency. Because, I mean, to be honest, Bitcoin makes a pretty terrible currency today. Right now, the transaction fees are way too high. It's way, way, way too slow to be used in any practical manner. It makes for a decent store of value, when it's not crashing, half of its net worth in a matter of days. But it is, the big daddy of cryptocurrencies. It's been around, the longest. It was the originator, and that's where the majority of attention is. So I get that's why it's their angle. Bitcoin as an investment makes more sense than Bitcoin as a currency today.
I'm hoping. I don't necessarily care whether it's Bitcoin that wins out or a country puts their own. I kind of would like to go between like the euro, like go between different countries and be able to pay differently rather than having to change my money or whatever it is. Like if it's on the internet, I want to pay with one central currency. I like the idea that it's decentralized. I also like the idea of different currencies for different countries and things like that. I don't know, but I'm just rambling here, but I like the idea of Bitcoin. I just don't think we should be investing in it. So
yeah, it's not an investment in a traditional sense of the word. It's not a certificate of deposit. It's not stock backed by hefty companies that are going to be around in 2 or 3 to 5 to 10 years, right? Bitcoin is still a slot machine. Throw your money in, pull the lever, and hope you cash out before the whole thing goes kaput. If it does, right? It's still very nebulous. So, when talk about Bitcoin as an investment, know that it's a gamble more than anything else.
And that was the main part of the show. It's a gamble. That's exactly what it is. Don't put anything and we've said this before, especially Tom said, don't put anything that you need. Put any money that you're willing to completely lose out on into it. So, all right, second topic, TunnelBear got bought out by, what did I say, McAfee?
Yes.
Which we didn't explicitly recommend TunnelBear. So TunnelBear is a VPN. Okay. They went through an audit. They went through 2 audits. They're fixing things. They're awesome. But they didn't get all the check boxes because, as Tom pointed out before, they're part of the Five Eyes country in Canada, which means that there is data sharing. But as far as the other stuff, they've been very, very good, like I said, with security audits and everything else. So I would recommend them in the sense that you want to watch some content on the BBC or Canadian TV or whatever else. Thumbs up to them. But if you're doing mission critical things, just be careful.
Yeah, it's no secret that I do not like McAfee. I don't like Symantec. I don't like these big security firms that make the majority of their money by scaring people in Walmart with really terrifying advertising, or scaring people that watch daytime TV with terrifying advertisements saying, unless you buy our Internet 360 super-powered security suite for $60 plus $60 subscription every year, all of your bank statements are going to go to the Russians or whatever, right? Or going to go to evil hackers. I think it's predatory, and at the very least, it's not an accurate assessment.
So let me ask you this. So we've always said, so I'm looking at their prices, and we've always said stay away from free tiers. They have this free tier, 500 megabytes of free data, which means somehow they're monitoring the data that goes through. But is there a way they can spy on you that way? Because usually when you see free, they're injecting ads or whatever else. But by limiting the amount of data that can be passed through, is that okay?
It's definitely information leakage, right? You can easily tell, okay, if somebody is on the free tier and they're only on the free tier, they could be looking at web pages. They could be, downloading a few things, right? If they blow through the free tier right away, hey, these people are streaming Doctor Who on the BBC iPlayer all day, right? You can definitely tell usage patterns from the amount of data, right? My grandmother's cell phone usage pattern, as far as her data goes, is extremely different compared to mine, right? I'm downloading high-def video podcasts a couple times a day on data, and my grandmother is getting emails and text messages and Google Hangouts messages from the kids that contain nothing but happy birthday whoever, or did you know Bill's gonna be in Florida this week, stuff like that. So you can definitely tell assumed usage patterns just by the amount of data somebody's using.
So I mean, like I said, I'm with you on the McAfee thing. I'm not a fan that they're of their products, but I think TunnelBear's, they claim that they're going to be independent. That's what they claim. They claim that they're still going to hold to this. Again, it's a time will tell type thing. But again, you want to use, like you said, the iPlayer, you want to stream some stuff, go for it. But mission critical things, you may want to start deciding to either move away, find something else, or just be more careful.
And Tor is always an option, right? It's definitely not the best user experience. It's not the most fire and forget solution out there. You do have to change your usage patterns. But if your objective is to make your traffic non-clear text on public Wi-Fi, Tor does an okay job of that. Now, there are other risks that come with Tor, such as, if you land on a bad exit node who's trying to sniff all your traffic or, change the sites it's going to give you, that's an issue too, right? But if you're using HTTPS on top of Tor, it minimizes the effect of that.
So my friend told me, you got to try out Tor. And I've tried it out. I've tried it on the desktop. So I downloaded Orbot on my phone and I went to this Onion address and didn't load. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on, why this isn't working. And it was really annoying. I didn't set the VPN switch on Orbot. And that really bothered me because so the Onion was located on the top of my notifications. This is Android, by the way. And it says I was connected. I saw data flowing in and out, but I wasn't actually connected to Tor. I had to check that VPN. And the only reason I checked it was because it wouldn't load the Onion address, which bothers me to a sense that there was no measure in place to verify. And I can see somebody saying, oh, use Tor. They do this, and they're not really using Tor. It just shows that they pretending to use Tor.
Yeah, definitely. It's not a great default user experience at all. And they should have warned you when you launched this. They should have said, hey, use Orfox because we've built in some privacy safeguarding measures into this browser. Because if you use Chrome, you're actually de-anonymizing yourself in some pretty substantial ways, even if you're using Chrome over Tor. And they should tell you that, right? They should be very upfront with, here's the package, here's how you use it, here's the training material, but it is an impedance to onboarding, right? You are slowing down your users, which a lot of people aren't going to respond well to. If you download, TunnelBear or another VPN app that's got apps in the App Store, you log in, you hit the button, and you're done. Tor, it doesn't work that way. It's more complicated. It's more nuanced. It has more objectives to keep you safe because they are, operating on the nth degree of privacy. They're operating on the very high end of trying to protect and maintain anonymity. Whereas someone like NordVPN, TunnelBear, etc., they might not be, right? They might have different objectives. Their number one goal might be ease of use or customer experience. It might not be protecting and preserving anonymity at all costs.
And again, you have to evaluate what your threat model is. And I'm assuming that if you're listening to this show, your threat model is a little more than the spying coworkers. But if you're listening to the show and you have to worry about being a political dissident, I'm hoping that you listen to a lot of other people other than just us. Yeah,
let's throw this out here now. If you're trying to overthrow, an evil government run by like the bad guys from why did I just blank on G.I. Joe? If you're trying to
remember
Cobra, if you are trying to escape the clutches of Cobra with your super secret anonymity technology, don't just take our word for it, please. Go out and do a bunch of research, listen to a bunch of different podcasts, ask for a bunch of different advice. We should not be your only source for this type of stuff, especially if your life is in danger. Let's just get that out of the way.
But if you're trying to hide or pay off somebody that you shouldn't be paying off, and you need to do it securely, we can at least try and get you there. So if your threat model is some crazy neighbor, I think in the next 15 minutes, we can tell you how to do that.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to throw out my service level agreement for security advice. I'm going to give you guys an SLA. If you're trying to hide your data from the kid with an Alpha card and Callie inside of the Starbucks on the free Wi-Fi, I can help you evade that guy. I'm not going to promise anything else, right? Anything else is off the table. Take it or leave it. I'm going to guarantee that I can hide your traffic effectively from the kid hacker at Starbucks.
So if you are some sort of very important person, like, I don't know, the leader of the free world, kind of
As an
important.
example, let's
As
just
an example.
throwing it out there.
Okay. And you met somebody that you're not exactly proud of, and you wanted to not have that person come out, I don't know, 10 years later.
Give
And
or take.
yeah, and let's say you had some other person working for you that you said, "Hey, can you?" Or no, you didn't say, "Hey, can you handle this?" That person took it upon their own good self-interest to, I don't know, talk to this person that you're not so happy with and say, "Can you just not do anything?" There are a couple ways to do that, because here's the problem. Every single person is looking at you. They're digging through every single piece of data that you have, and at some point they're going to find something. So while your threat model is a little more than the kid running Kali Linux at the Starbucks, it's not. It's still it's you still got to cover your tracks. And unfortunately, if you know what we're talking about, the person didn't cover their tracks. So let's start on how you possibly could do it.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things. If you think you might run for public office one day, try not to even put yourself in these compromising situations, because political opponents can and will and do dig into everything, and nothing is off the table. So the first thing is, don't make it obvious, right? Legal contracts can be public. They can be made public through depositions or other legal means. And you probably don't want those things coming out of the woodwork.
Well, let's first start simply. First off, what we found out is, please don't use your work email for anything other than work. Don't use your personal email for anything other than personal use. And if you have a secret email, don't mix any of those.
Yeah. Using your work email for personal stuff is just, a bad idea in the first place. There have been people, I have worked IT for a lot of different companies. I have had people call me after they have been walked out of the building after being laid off, and they said, "Hey, my iPhone at home, my personal iPhone is linked to my work email address. Could I just log in and get that?" And no, you can't. I cannot re-enable your account. Sorry, talk to Apple.
Do they remotely wipe the phone, because that's part of Exchange?
Yeah.
So when you sign up for Exchange, one of the permissions is that they can remotely wipe your phone. Do they do that? I guess they do.
It all depends on the company. In some companies I've worked for, absolutely. If you had work email associated with a device, it got wiped if you were walked out the door. There was a different company I worked for that they didn't care, and they just let it go.
So what we found out is that the said person decided to use the emails for everything and saying it's just easier. And this reminds me of a certain other presidential candidate who created a separate account on a separate email server and just said, "Hey, look, it's easier to have the two of them on one rather than carrying two phones," which is, again, it's separating the email is better, but separating the email and carrying two phones is even better.
Yeah, like mixing devices, or having different accounts on one device. That's one way to do this. It's okay, but you might be tempted to share stuff from one side to the other, and that temptation is alleviated a little bit, or at least minimizes the chances that you might make a mistake and choose the wrong account for something by having two completely different devices. And trust me, I know I have worked, in technical fields and had email on my phone in a bunch of different jobs, and this is really annoying to carry two devices. It is terribly, terribly, terribly annoying. So what you could do, if it's an option, you could not get email on your personal phone and instead, have the company chat app, and just minimize the level of interaction you have with work on your personal device.
I mean, I send to my wife, and I shouldn't do this, but I'm a public employee, so all my email is literally public. let's say benefit information. So instead of copying that out and forwarding it to somewhere else or printing it out and doing all this, I just forward the email to my wife and that's it. And again, not the best idea, but I made a decision that somebody in public seeing that forward, okay, no big deal. But there are people, I mean, especially in schools where bullying now is a big thing, is they're doing it and their emails are getting subpoenaed to see everything and everything comes out. And unfortunately, people are learning this the hard way. So you're going to separate things, separate them, like actually do that. Don't just say you're going to do it and then say, oh, I want to forward this bad joke to a bunch of my friends, because that's going to come out.
Yeah, especially with legal discovery, where lawyers from both sides of a lawsuit can go through company emails from everyone for a set legal amount of time, and do discovery. They can search on anything, on any keyword, right? And if there was, let's say, for instance, a sexual harassment case, and you sent dirty jokes to a couple coworkers, that would come up in that search, right? Especially if that lawsuit involves you, your team, or a manager that was over you. It's really, really easy to fall afoul of these things. So keep work. I guess I probably don't have to say it, but I should. Maintain your professionalism while you're at work, while you're doing your profession. I have seen a lot of people use, their work laptops for personal things, for, either playing games or, managing their personal Dropbox account or other things. And not only may this be against your company's policies, it's also, not a great idea, because if you leave this job for whatever reason, and you don't have the opportunity to wipe the machine yourself before you go, whatever IT employee that ends up with your machine now has full reign to every account and every application you have on that system, right? If you installed Signal on your work computer, well, the keys that are now linked to your Signal account are now in the hands of whatever IT employee had your computer, which probably isn't a good thing, right?
Look, we talked about this a year or two ago. My sister is getting a new computer, and what should she do? And we said uninstall software, wipe it, do this, do that before you give it. And in talking to her, they basically said her company doesn't want them carrying two devices. They don't want them having friction to do work, mainly because they want them to do work wherever they go. So they try to say, look, we are not doing all this stuff. We just want you to have this, and we're giving you the device, and we're putting our Exchange client on it just so you can have it. But again, they still control it, but they're saying, hey, look, don't do two devices, because you're not going to take your second laptop on vacation. So we're going to cut you some slack, but still you should be aware of that. But I want to move on past. Okay, so we talked about email, we talked about property. The other thing people forget is that phone calls are harder to wiretap. So if you're going to send an email about how much you don't like somebody in your office, the best thing to do is pick up the phone. That's the next thing, and actually call them. Not the person you're making fun of, but the person you're going to relay information to.
If you want it to be even more secretive than that, it's a pretty high-tech operation. I'm not sure if, most of the engineers I know couldn't pull this off, but you could physically approach someone in the same real-world space in confidence and have like a weird verbal, physical conversation with the other entity. And those are also, decently hard to wiretap in many situations, unless you're being specifically targeted with wiretapping equipment.
It's if you have to complain about something that somebody did to you, obviously first, the best thing to do is go to a park and discuss it. But if you couldn't do that, okay, talk to them. If you couldn't do that, pick up the phone, because email, again, we said, can be found and everything else.
If it's written down, it is so easy to get out. It is easy to leak. It is easy to come back and bite you. If you don't want something coming back, have no records.
And so that's the thing that people forget. The phone. Not everything has to be a Slack communication. Not everything has to be an email. If you're going back and forth because somebody doesn't pick up, understand like where you want to meet for lunch or whatever it is, picking up the phone and dialing them for 30 seconds. Hey, do you want to meet at this place at this time? I didn't understand what you said. Would solve the problem. 30 seconds and you're done. And I don't know why we've moved away from that. It's when I was renting my apartment, I was telling people, we're engaging in a contract for $2,000 a month. If you can't pick up the phone to schedule an appointment with me, I don't know if we can work together on something you have to pay me a lot of money for every single month. And some people wouldn't call and then they wouldn't see it. And I thought to myself, maybe I should have just done the text message thing. But if they can't do that, then how are they going to call me to say whatever else?
It might be a generational thing. I know, me picking up a phone and actually like calling someone, I will text or email someone all day long. But for me to actually have a phone call, I don't know. It's a weird thing. I don't like calling people. I really don't. I have no issues doing it. I just don't like it.
Well,
I don't know.
I get that. So, okay, you want to see the apartment? That's fine. Here, this, that, the other thing. But when it's finally time to deal with money and everything else, you know what? It's let's meet somewhere. Let's do this. And I know that's hard and everything else, but we're talking at that last special thing. So, okay, so you're going to meet somebody, obviously do that. I'm trying to think of anything else. The last thing, because we're running out of time, is don't do things where you work. Like I love this. People take sick days and they end up going shopping right next to their job and somebody sees them. And if you're gonna do something you shouldn't be doing, don't let everyone know about it. We talked about don't go on vacation and then say on Facebook, hey, I'm on the plane now. Because what that means is that nobody's at your house.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of little things and they're all pretty situational, but it boils down to make sure that something can't come back to you. If somebody, imagine that somebody has it out for you 24/7, right? They're watching everything you do. And if something can come back, they can gain evidence and it can come back to bite you later if they can use it against you. Imagine it's like some evil attorney that's going to sue you for everything, right? Try to live in a way that leaves as few footprints behind as possible. Now, I get that, going totally crazy security isn't the point of the show, and it's not really what I'm telling you to do, but it's a good way to approach a problem like this. A problem like operational security is, if you operate as if you're under attack at all times, if ever somebody does come to attack you or does come to try to use something against you, you've already taken the steps necessary to protect yourself.
And I'm coming from the idea, so exactly what you said, but it's think about I think the better way, how can I make this more inconvenient for me? Because if it's inconvenient for you, it's going to be inconvenient for someone to piece it together. And so, like we said, carry a separate work phone, use a separate email for this, the phone, go somewhere outside of your normal area to discuss things. And you said this, you alluded to this before, it's a generational thing. The older people are like, who's going to go after me, because they only remember phone calls. But now we have all these digital tails. The younger people don't really care about privacy, and unfortunately that's what's getting them in trouble. And then, I mean, obviously you have messaging services, and we're not even talking about how text messages can be spoofed or whatever else. We're just saying, hey, look, if you're going to do something you shouldn't be doing or you don't want someone else knowing, don't make it obvious. And unfortunately, we're hearing that's basically how all these people get caught.
And don't carry your phone. Do you know how many apps you run, like MoviePass, that track your location a lot? That can pinpoint your location within a couple meters, at virtually all times of the day. It's quite a lot. If you have Google location services turned on and Maps is following you around, Google knows where you are all the time. And guess what? You can subpoena that information. If it comes down to a court case and law enforcement needs it, they're going to get that info.
And just to round up the 30 minutes, so Leslie Carhart, and I'm going to get her name wrong, I think she's Hacks for Pancakes, Hacks the number 4 for Pancakes on Twitter, did a thread about, I guess people are nervous about the Echo and the Google Home listening to them. And the point was, yes, that's a thing. I'm sure it's a thing that could happen. But guess what? So is your phone. So if you're not dealing with your phone, trust me, Google and Amazon are not listening to you to get details. Your phone is a much easier attack surface to go through, especially when you're running 3-year-old software on a phone or you're not updating or whatever else. People are not going after the million people who have cylinders versus the billion people who have phones.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point, and her work is phenomenal. She's great. And she's exactly right, right? If I'm a nefarious hacker, you got to think about it from the adversarial perspective. If I'm coming after you and my objective is to listen in on your daily activities, which, by the way, would probably bore most people. If people listen in on my daily activities, they'll be like, wait a minute, he watched how many reruns of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia in a row? Does this guy do anything else? But if I was going to attack someone and my objective was to listen in on all of their conversations all throughout a day, I'm not going to listen to the echo that's on the kitchen table. I'm just not going to do it. If I want to hear everything I can and have a really easy attack surface to get in, I'm going to hack your phone. I'm going to hot mic your phone, and I'm going to listen that way because you carry it with you and it follows you to your job. I don't care about the echo on the kitchen table. It just doesn't listen enough for it to be for me to find it valuable as a nefarious hacker.
Yeah. And so again, that's not what I'm worried about. I'm worried about the phone GPS, the phone location, the stuff on the phone, things that, I mean, I'm not worried about stuff inside necessarily the house. I'm worried about the stuff that you go around with. Knowing your car, having a vanity license plate, things like that are much more troublesome. Anyway, we're over time, so we're going to end it now. Not that we want more news, but we hope to be with you next week. So,
indeed.
Anyway, everyone have a good day, and we will see you hopefully next week. Bye.
See you, everyone.